We have a loaded week full of planetary transits. In this week's astrology, Mercury is shifting out of post-shadow and entering Taurus, giving us the urge to mellow out when it comes down to our mindset and communication style. There are 3 conjunction aspects forming over these next 7 days, marking a period where we're wanting to start something fresh concerning intellect, love, and motivation. And it's a busy week of Mercury transits, causing us to work on how we interact with others. Since this happens to be a loaded week, the vibes on the graph are a mixed bag and also pretty abundant. On the 13th, emotional sensitivity, solitude, and social interactions will be present. And because these are vacillating energies, we might be in the mood to have some company over or just be in someone else's presence. But also, we may be in the mood to just have some space to ourselves and do our own thing. Over the period of these next 7 days, good luck energy is going to peak and valley, and we'll see that from the 14th to the 16th, and then it returns again on the 17th to the 19th, which is when it's at its highest. So the cool thing about this and this week overall is there's a ton of fortunate energy. So we'll be more encouraged to take healthy risks that lead to favorable outcomes. Also, these fortunate vibes is going to intersect romance, ambition, mental vibes, social energies, psychic vibes, and also emotional sensitivity as well. Even with some of the harsher transits occurring through the middle and the end of the week, overall the weekend, we'll be in the mood to just do something upbeat or more or less take a on the bright side approach to life. So it may seem easier than typical to shake off a bad mood despite some of the other harsh transits that we have going on. Also, it could be a period where intuition is spot on about some of the hunches that we're feeling. So yeah, we're in for another colorful week. Let's look at these next bunch of days and see what we can expect. Don't forget to like and subscribe because it helps this channel grow. Also, if you're looking for a natal chart reading or intuitive coaching, the links will be in the description box below. And if you'd like to support the work of this channel, you could do so by buying me a fresh cup of coffee. The link will be in the description box below as well. On the 13th, about 48 hours before Mercury heads into Taurus, it's going to finally exit its shadow retrograde. So now we might feel like we're getting back on track and possibly understanding some of the snags that we ran into while Mercury was reversed in Aries. And also another feature of this is we'll have 2 days left of Mercury in Aries in its regular format. And as Mercury is leaving shadow, it's going to make a connection to Jupiter that can inflate the chance of dealing with people who fib too much. An alignment like this tends to enunciate situations where people just exaggerate a ton. And sometimes, of course, this is harmless. Sometimes people just embellish a little bit and whatever. But also, it can have some components to it where it's a little bit deceitful. Mercury and Jupiter hard transits tend to bring that sort of thing out where people aren't necessarily scaling back on their story or whatever else is going on. And people just tend to stress the truth in this energy. It doesn't have the components of a Neptune energy, though, where it tends to get more manipulative. But either way, it could feel really annoying. Another way this can show up is through arrogance and people acting either intellectually arrogant or just obnoxious or like they're smarter than everyone else, which is essentially intellectual arrogance. Or if it's not that form, it could be dealing with people who are blowing out a lot of hot air and inflating their importance. And another thing that we need to be aware of within this energy is paying attention to the details. Mercury may be out of retrograde, but it's still in Aries and it's making an alignment like this. And with an alignment like this, it tends to be a situation where we're skimming the details because we can't be bothered, and whether that is a sign up, a membership, important documents, whatever else we need to actually read, we just need to be careful not to do that and to pay attention to whatever it is we're signing up for. One of the reasons why we were getting that mixed bag energy on the 13th is because we have 2 harmonious alignments occurring, with Venus making a sextile with Saturn and the Sun making a conjunction with Uranus. Mostly I'll attribute the social energy to the Sun and Uranus situation. Although Venus does have to deal with our social stuff that's going on when it's combined with Saturn in this format. And by social stuff, I mean our romantic unions, our close unions. But a lot of the time with this Venus sextile Saturn situation, we do focus on our love life a little bit more. So with a vibe like this, it could be a time where you're considering how you could take more deliberate steps to ensure you have stability concerning your love life. Also your finances as well. So it could really mark a period where you're ready to establish something that's going to give you concrete results in those areas of life. Energetically, our concentration just goes on making more meaningful commitments. So it could be a time to understand what relationships in your life are worthwhile, especially with the romantic stuff. So if you're single, this could be a phase where you're valuing yourself more, where you're realizing that you need to invest your time in high quality unions. So this may cause you to slow down a little bit to ensure you're vetting the right type of person into your life, because you're at a period where you need to make a solid choice rather than spinning your gears when it comes down to your love life. For those who are in committed relationships, this may be a time to cement things with your bond. So it could look like taking things to the next level if you're dating someone and finally putting a label on it, or taking the next steps overall in a relationship, whatever step that might be for you. Also, this could be a time to consider our relationship to money. So it can usher in a period where we're creating better financial habits and identifying how we could be more efficient when it comes down to money-making opportunities. Continuing with the alignments of the 13th, the Sun's going to make a conjunction with Uranus, and this may give us an abrupt boost to our confidence, causing us to have a sudden revelation on how we can build up our self-assurance. And this is the first conjunction of the week. Conjunctions mark a new phase between celestial bodies. And so now we're in a new Sun-Uranus cycle, which is essentially the new moon phase for these two celestial bodies. So this can open up a new period of reclaiming our sense of self, overcoming self-doubt, feeling free to be who we are unapologetically, which makes it easy to embrace our uniqueness. So this could usher in a new period where we're finding inner peace within ourselves, especially when it comes down to expressing the way we want unabashedly, which is excellent for not needing validation from others. So instead of expecting our confidence to come from other people, we'll be able to boost ourselves up for a change. Another cool thing about this transit is we'll have a sudden urge to create changes to our lives, constructive ones. And this is because we're feeling more sure of ourselves than typical. So energy like this helps us break out of stagnant periods, allowing us to get out of a slump because we're feeling more confident to pick ourselves back up and really begin the stages of gaining progress again in our lives. Also with this, socially, it tends to help us in terms of feeling more motivated to interact with others. So because we're feeling free of restrictions, we'll just feel more open to being around people and just really craving interaction overall. Another way this can manifest is having creative breakthroughs. So if you had some sort of artistic block, writer's block, any type of creative block, this may help you work through some of those complexities and find solutions to that out of the blue. Also, on a more societal level, it could be a day of hearing about new and cutting-edge things that are coming out and original ideas. Wednesday ushers in a new sign change for Mercury finally. Mercury is entering Taurus. Mercury's been in Aries since March 9th, and so of course that's longer than typical. Mercury generally stays in a sign for about 3 weeks or so, give or take the retrogrades, and obviously because of the retrograde, Mercury was in Aries for about a good 8 weeks or so. Just a scotch over 8 weeks. But now, we're over this Aries period with Mercury. Don't get me wrong, I have Mercury in Aries, and it's nice to have a Mercury return. However, that Mercury return came with a retrograde, so I mean, geez. Can't say it was the raddest. But Mercury transiting here is going to change the approach to how we think, communicate, hear, and understand data to a more softer approach. So, as we exit the fast-paced method of Aries, we move towards Taurus's more deliberate decision-making approach. And for this reason, we could feel more mellow under this energy. I'm not saying that this Mercury in Taurus isn't going to get some hard transits, because out the gate, it's got about a few coming up. As a matter of fact, 3 within a 48-hour period. But the need to mellow out and just calm our minds will be stronger than typical. And with all this Taurian energy that we have going on right now with Venus in Taurus and the Sun in Taurus, this pairing is going to get a considerable boost from all of that, allowing ourselves to pace ourselves better. And also in this energy, it allows for us to be more reasonable in our thinking. So if something takes longer, it's easier to have patience. It's easier to take our time to communicate clearly and effectively. Our tolerance for things is more significant because our thinking is seeking peace rather than victory, which of course will translate into our conversations with other people too. Another thing to note with this is Mercury in this sign is decisive, but gradually. It's not like the impulsivity we might have experienced during Mercury in Aries. So we may take our time coming to a conclusion about something or just overall deciding on something because we're not feeling as hard pressed to get it done now. Sometimes it's nice to be subdued. Sometimes it's nice to just simmer on our thoughts and think for a little bit and let go of the need to do things quickly and come up with an answer on the fly or go into analytical mode immediately. Of course, in life, sometimes we don't have the luxury to take our time. Sometimes we do need to make snap decisions, but at least this will make us feel less pressure to do so. Here's one of the neutral expressions of Taurus, and I say neutral because this has its positive end, but it also has its downfall end as well. Taurus energy cannot be pushed into a decision. It can't be rushed into anything, and that could be good. That may not be good. However, if we're in a situation where someone is trying to rush us into a decision that we aren't comfortable with, that might come at a cost to us, that may perhaps steal time from us and just overall disrupt our comfort, this is a great energy to practice saying no and not allowing anyone to take you out your comfort zone. Which also comes with another cool feature of this energy. This is the type of energy that has a low bandwidth for gossip and drama and anything that just disrupts the atmosphere. So if there are interactions and other situations that are on that level that create chaos, it's easier to come up with strategies that help us protect our peace in this energy. Of course, it's not that we can avoid unpleasant conversations and situations, but we'll seem more skilled and better at it with energy like this. Because, of course, there are transits that are coming up that could test all of that. Stimulation-wise, we may be open to things that help our five senses. Because Taurus is a sensing sign, we'll get a considerable boost from things that enhance us in that way. So with this, we may be more sensitive to sound and sensations. So it could be music, it could be things like AMSR, or relaxing with something satisfying like a sound bath, or getting one of those singing bowls. We can also gain stimulation through taste and touch, taking in beautiful scenery and smelling flowers, and other things that'll mentally stimulate us through our five senses. With an energy like this, data retention is simpler than typical. So with Taurus energy, it may have a slow pace to it. However, whatever you're taking your time to learn, you will end up absorbing and you will end up retaining it better. And this is because it gives you the mental fortitude to stay the course, but also because you're savoring that data rather than skimming it or rushing through it. You're able to retain what you've gained better than you would if it was in a quick sign like Mercury in Aries or Mercury in Sagittarius, and a lot of the signs that tend to be very quick in terms of taking in data. So even with all of these lovely things that come with Mercury in Taurus, there's of course a lower vibration to this. Let's come back to not allowing anyone to take you out your comfort zone. Obviously, you have to have clear boundaries in this life. You need to have boundaries with yourself, but you also need to have boundaries with other people. And not allow others to push you into a decision that's going to create discomfort in your life and any type of upheaval. However, there are reasonable situations where sometimes, it's good to come out of your comfort zone. It's good to get out of either a mental way of thinking that's causing ruts or a stale period in your life, and of course having a fixed mindset. And so inflexibility could be a real problem within this energy, even when it comes down to taking advice from people. Of course, that's a slippery slope as well. Sometimes we need to be closed to feedback, other times maybe there's something to it and we need to listen. Sometimes doing things our way is keeping us from growth. And so there are times in life where we should get a second opinion or another set of eyes looking at something. So that way we're not falling into the trappings of our own thinking. And another thing with this, because of the slow moving nature, is the split decision problem. So yes, sometimes we should take our time before we make a decision and jump into something. Other times, we have to make a split decision about something. And so energy like this can make that feel like more of a task than it typically is. But regardless of the unfavorable aspects of this energy, let's take this opportunity to mellow out our minds and take a deep dive into our senses. And as I said before, we have a couple of alignments that are going on right as Mercury is going into Taurus that are hard alignments. Over these next 4 days, there are going to be transits to Neptune, Pluto, and Saturn. And so with the Neptune stuff, it can make for a day where interactions are very foggy and cryptic. The Pluto stuff may lead to dealing with people who are throwing their weight around. And with the Saturn lineup situation, it may manifest as minimizing our problems or coming across as cold and just uncaring overall. As we get to Friday, Mars and Jupiter are going to make a semi-square with one another. And energy like this is mixed bag because on one hand, it's good for releasing pent-up energy. So if we felt stuck and like things are moving slow, we'll have a big urge to release tension. We'll be in the mood for excitement-seeking behavior. It's a great day for exercising and finding cool activities to participate in, and even bedroom antics. But on the flip side, this is Mars and Jupiter in a hard alignment, and even with Mars and Jupiter in a hard alignment being fun to a degree, it comes with some out-of-hand antics. So we might need to check ourselves if we're going overboard, especially concerning reckless behavior and situations where we're partying too hard. Also, one of the lowest forms of Mars-Jupiter in complex transits is temper issues. So some people's tempers may be more inflated than typical, leading to confrontational behavior, being boastful, being arrogant, and to put it bluntly, bar fight energy. Anytime I see hard aspects with Mars and Jupiter, I always mention that this is bar fight energy. This is getting wasted and flexing on someone sort of energy. Mars-Uranus can be like that too, but to a different degree. So yeah, we'll have to be mindful of our behavior with energy like this. But at least Saturday and Sunday bring in some harmonious energies. Speaking of Uranus, Venus and Uranus are going to make a conjunction with one another, starting a new phase between these celestial bodies. So this opens up a new phase concerning love life, finances, and breaking out of stale periods in these areas. So this can mark a phase where we're ready to grab these areas of life by the horns and begin to make some progress. So we could feel motivated to start altering things in a constructive way though. In our love life, if something needed an update and was long overdue for a makeover, we could start beginning that. Any changes that we need to make to our career positively, this is going to be an energy that's going to encourage us to do so. And even anything aesthetically, this is one of those energies that's great for updating your wardrobe and your look overall. So it's a period to level up overall in these areas of life. And on that same day, the Sun and Jupiter are going to make a conjunction, creating a new cycle between these celestial bodies. So this is the third conjunction that we have through this week. So having a week like this with 3 conjunctions will really put an urge to start fresh in certain areas of life. So with these set of conjunctions that we've had over these last 7 days, it's marking changes that are harmonious. And with the Jupiter stuff, it'll inflate our confidence healthily. It'll inflate the need for intellectual stimulation and starting a new journey that causes us to take more healthy risks, causes us to seek opportunities, especially things that we shied away from because maybe we just felt nervous that we couldn't do it. With something like this, maybe we start considering ways to shine more. In other words, this could be a period where we're feeling more comfortable shining for our uniqueness and stepping out. And by stepping out, putting ourselves out there and just not shying away from situations that may put us in the spotlight. So it could be a time where we're realizing we need to take things to the next level instead of living in stillness. Socially, this could really help us get out of our shell and be ready to mingle and also be in a celebratory mood. So this could enunciate the need to get together with others, throw parties, and just do something high vibe that involves mingling with people we really enjoy. Also, an energy like this is great for just capitalizing on luck and bringing luck. This is why we were seeing so much luck vibes in the graph. So it might be a phase where we're experiencing more fortunate opportunities. And also it's a time where generosity is more prevalent. So it may be a time where you're wanting to pay it forward or someone's paying it forward to you. On top of that, as we get to Saturday, to continue with these harmonious vibes, the Sun's going to make a sextile with Neptune. And this is really going to help us boost our confidence through metaphysical things. So it could be a weekend of enjoying spirituality, playing around with tarot cards, enjoying music, theater, art, film, and other forms of creative expression. And the coolest thing about this energy is it really helps us find the silver lining in things. And healthily, not in a toxic positivity sort of way, but in a way of just like, you know what? I feel like I need to change my self-concept because thinking negatively hasn't been getting me anywhere. And I need to see the brighter side of things and focus on the positive things that may come rather than the negative. So this is lovely for pushing that kind of energy out of you. So that way you're thinking more positive and have a more harmonious sense of self. So yeah, definitely a jam-packed week full of planetary transits, and rounds out with a real positive note, which is great. More than one positive note, 3 positive notes. So I hope you all are experiencing the blissfulness of some of these alignments that are coming up that are really, really positive. Anyway, I hope you all have the best week ever. Later, and see you in the next episode.